Welcome to the Invite Health podcast, where our degreed healthcare professionals are excited to offer you the most important health and wellness information you need to make informed choices about your health. You can learn more about the products discussed in each of these episodes and all that Invite Health has to offer at www.invitehealth.com/podcast. First-time customers can use promo code podcast at checkout for an additional 15% off your first purchase. Let's get started.
Today we're discussing reducing stress, helping you to feel calm without making you feel drowsy. It's very doable. There's a reason why Buddhist monks sip green tea during their long hours of meditation. There's a bunch of stimulants in there. There's caffeine and its cousins, theophylline and theobromine. They obviously wake you up. They can make you feel jittery. Somewhat paradoxically, there's an amino acid that's unique to tea. It's called L-Theanine. It calms you down and helps you focus. It does this without making you feel drowsy. Now, how much theanine is in a cup of tea? Well, that's really hard to pinpoint. The best I could tell you is Japanese authorities say there's about 20 milligrams per cup. That's about enough to offset the negative effects of the caffeine-type components. But it's not enough to help you with stress. If you have stressful events going on in your life, you have to take an isolated, purified L-theanine as a supplement. So L-theanine is an amino acid. It easily crosses into your brain. There's a protective mechanism in your brain called the blood-brain barrier. It's extra insulation in the blood vessels in your brain. It keeps bad things out of your brain. The brain readily accepts L-theanine. It's GRAS certified by the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA feels it's very safe for you to use. The maximum daily dosage has been established as 1,200 milligrams. You don't need anywhere near that. For most people, one capsule, 100 milligrams, once or twice a day is plenty for stress. It's an amino acid. Usually amino acids bundle together to make proteins. This one is more of a maverick. It works on its own. It works in isolation. It's just a great stress buster. It's the answer to stress. It really is. But it's also an anxiolytic agent, which means it's for anxiety. Now, the best way I could describe anxiety is fear of a future event. Like some people have such bad anxiety, they're afraid to leave the house. And some people have anxiety in social situations like going to a party. I have anxiety when I have to do paperwork. If you take theanine, it helps you cope with anxiety. You don't get that butterfly feeling of fear in your gut. It's a great stress buster. Now, here's how I use it in the daytime. I wear many hats. I'm the senior scientific officer, so sometimes I go to the stores to see clients. I also do these podcasts, Dr. Amanda Williams and myself. I also create our supplements. I check the labels. I'm answering emails. I'm doing live radio frequently. That gives me many, many deadlines. And when these pile up and somebody adds on top of that, like I have to do an interview or something, I can get stressed out. I just take one L-theanine. Within like 10 minutes, I'm feeling calmer already. But I can focus. I mean, it actually seems to improve my ability to be creative, which is good when you're writing an article or creating a nutritional supplement or doing an interview. So you can feel relaxed and calm without feeling drowsy. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So what does L-theanine do? Well, there's a lot of research on that. It offsets the effects of glutamate, so let's talk about that. In your brain, there's at least 100 neurotransmitters that are known as science. Neurotransmitters are released by the neurons in your brain to make the brain do certain things. For instance, to remember something, you release acetylcholine. To block your appetite, you release serotonin during a meal. To go to sleep at night, you release melatonin. To wake up in the morning, you release cortisol. So to wake up the brain, to keep the brain very active, you release glutamate. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter. So you have to have something that opposes that for balance. And that neurotransmitter would be GABA. It's the major neuroinhibitory neurotransmitter. So the brain balances glutamate and GABA to keep you at the steady level of being awake, so you're focused, etc. But you're not getting out of control. because if it gets out of control, if your brain is too stimulated, you could burn out your brain cells. In fact, this happens with MSG, monosodium glutamate. There's some reason, glutamate, think of that. Glutamate is a major excitatory neurotransmitter in your brain. MSG is monosodium glutamate. It could be an excitotoxin, neurotoxic. It can actually burn out your brain cells, kill off your brain cells. So GABA opposes that. Theanine works with GABA receptor sites. It modestly inhibits glutamate receptor sites and it improves on GABA. GABA stands for gamma amino butyric acid, which makes you feel relaxed, calm. It increases alpha wave production. That's pretty cool. That's a relaxed mental state, but you're not tired. It's like a state of wakeful rest. You're vigilant, you're aware, you're sharp, but you're not stressed. Alpha waves are the relax and unwind waves. They're stress busters. Now here's some really interesting stuff, some added benefit with L-Theanine. It stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor. That's BDNF. That's kind of like miracle grow for your brain. A Harvard neurologist said that. BDNF encourages the growth of new brain cells, new memory cells. And it allows them to function. It allows them to release the correct neurotransmitter at the appropriate times. And it allows them to communicate with each other. It creates regions where the cells can communicate with each other called synaptic regions. BDNF is very important for your long-term memory. So let's talk about that. Short-term memory is like memory that you store for seconds. You know, like you're parking your car or something, so you have to remember how to park your car. A long-term memory is, what you need to survive. Now, theanine also stimulates the release of nerve growth factor, which is called NGF. That helps maintain the health of your brain cells. It helps regenerate your brain cells. It helps repair your brain cells, your brain tissue. So let's go to some studies on L-Theanine because they're pretty darn interesting, and there's a lot of human studies. I don't like to quote animal studies. First of all, I'm not happy sometimes that they're studying things on animals to begin with. But second of all, we have people studies, so why bother? So here's the journal Nutrients. It's the Department of Mental Disorder Research, National Institute of Neuroscience in Tokyo, Japan, because, hey, Japan is a green tea drinking country, and they found out L-Theanine comes out of it, and they like to study things that grow locally like we all do. So this is a randomized, placebo-controlled crossover study. I love crossover studies. And a crossover study, it's like added evidence. There's more weight to the study. Because they'll try a placebo in one group and the actual ingredient they're studying in a second group, and then they cross them over. There's a washout period, usually about 2 to 4 weeks, where you get rid of the effects of the supplement and the placebo, and then you switch teams. The people before on placebo are now on the theanine. The people on the theanine previously are now on the placebo. So when you see something works in both groups, that's, especially compared to placebo, that's strong evidence. So this is randomized, placebo-controlled, a crossover study. Healthy adults, but they have really stressful situations. And this is affecting their memory, their ability to focus, their cognitive functions. Now this is all compared to placebo. Giving them L-Theanine capsules in the daytime reduce their feelings of stress. You can't get rid of the situation. What, are you going to leave your job or get a new kid? Come on, you're stuck with the stress. But it got rid of the feeling of the stress. It got rid of the anxiety, that fear of the future event. It clicked their mood up several levels. In fact, it was getting rid of depression in some of these people. At night, it was improving their sleep. They had a shorter time of sleep latency. They were falling asleep faster. They had fewer sleep disturbances. They were sleeping sounder and deeper. And there was a reduced need for sleeping pills. Their cognitive scores improved. Now you can't shake a stick at that. That's a really good thing. So what about anxiety? This is anxious, folks. It's the Journal of Functional Foods. It's the University of Shiga in Japan. Now, studies on theanine have been performed all over the world. They've been performed in New Zealand and Australia, in Europe, like in Germany and England, and the United States. But a lot are done in Japan because, like I said, it comes from green tea. So it's the University of Shiga in Japan. It's Journal of Functional Foods. And this is students in college. And these are high anxiety students. They're kind of neurotic students. And L-Theanine, so they gave it to non-neurotic students and anxious students. The students that were not neurotic, it didn't mean anything because they weren't anxious to begin with. But in the students with a lot of anxiety, it helped them focus. It helped them pay attention to their studies. It helped them focus on their daily activities. It actually improved their academic scores. They were doing better academically. So let me read you a quote. Now, these are Japanese people speaking in English. Therefore, 200 milligrams of L-Theanine intake may help normal people with high anxiety propensity to concentrate on their daily activities. In other words, they're saying these students get anxious very easily, and we gave them theanine, and they were cool. They were able to get along. So here's the journal Plant Foods for Human Nutrition, and it's researchers from all over the place. Aston Medical School, that's over in Birmingham, England. The University of Canberra in Australia. The Australian National University for Medical Science. The School of Medicine, University of Notre Dame in Australia. They did a systematic review and meta-analysis. Now that's the highest level of evidence that something either works or it doesn't work. In a systematic review, they go through all of these websites that collate research. And they find all the studies that are similar. In this case, they were looking for L-Theanine. Does it help with stress? Does it help with anxiety? They download the studies and they pick out the studies that are lacking bias, that are well designed, that are well reported, that really means something. And does L-Theanine work? Yeah, absolutely. Systematic review, meta-analysis, 9 peer-reviewed journal studies. A peer-reviewed journal means it's a journal where experts in that field get the evidence and review it to make sure that the study is real. So these are 9 studies in peer-reviewed medical journals. Using 200 milligrams to 400 milligrams of L-Theanine a day absolutely reduces symptoms of stress. This is during stressful times and stressful events. It also absolutely reduces feelings of anxiety. So the effects of L-Theanine are real. Now let me read you some of the letters from some of my clients. We have a lot of clients using L-Theanine. I use it myself. Here's Renee in West Hampton, Long Island. That's a lovely place. She's been on L-Theanine for 3 weeks. Actually, it's her son. My son, who is 14 years old, has a mild case of ADD, attention deficit disorder. He's been taking your L-Theanine for 3 weeks. He is now able to focus better in school. His grades have already improved. At home, he is much easier to get along with. Thank you for this great product. Well, that's a calmer house. Here's Ray in the Bronx. I've been taking your L-Theanine for 1 year. L-Theanine helps me relax. I take 1 or 2 capsules before bedtime, and I get so comfortable and calm, the tension from work just goes away. I can have a really good night's sleep. It really works. Now, let me just comment on that. This guy's been using it pretty consistently for sleep for over a year. It's not habit forming. You don't develop a tolerance for it. The same dosage works every time, 1 capsule or 2 capsules. Here's Jennifer in New Jersey. I've been using your L-Theanine for 2 weeks. I have a lot of stress. I've been taking the theanine for just 2 weeks. I feel so much better. I don't have any tension in my head anymore. This is a very good supplement. You can't beat these testimonials, can you? I mean, I could read you 10 studies, but when you get it from the horse's mouth like that. Here's Gail. I've been taking your L-Theanine for 2 weeks, and I can say that the level of stress has basically been non-existent during the workday now since I started it. I'm experiencing enormous stress at this time, and I find that your amino acid is so effective that I can even sleep better at night. Thank you, invite. Well, there you go. Here's David in New York City. I take your L-Theanine every night. I've been taking it for 3 months. It helps provide a very good night's sleep. I'll explain that in a minute when I finish reading some of these testimonials. Here's Dorothy in Hempstead, Long Island. Sometimes I find myself actually getting shaky from stress. Your L-Theanine works very well and very quickly. I've been using it for a year whenever I need it. See, that's the thing about theanine. You don't have to take it all the time. You just take it when you feel stressed. and it basically always seems to work. You don't get dependent on it. You don't become tolerant of it. You don't have to increase the dosage. So if one capsule works today, a week from now, one capsule should work also. Now, I use it sometimes at night. So in the daytime, if I'm stressed out, I'll take one capsule. It doesn't happen to me very often. I have a very high tolerance for stress, but every once in a while it just gets to me. I'll take one capsule. I never had to take a second capsule. One capsule has done me for the entire day every time I ever needed it. But at night it's a little bit different. At night I'll take 2 capsules. Now, I have no problem falling asleep. Here's what happens to me. I have 2 dogs, and I have a wife who's a light sleeper. So if something wakes up any of them, they can wake me up. And here's the problem. If I wake up at 3 in the morning, my brain starts working immediately, and I start thinking about the podcast I have to do that day, or the formula I'm working on, or my radio program that I'm about to broadcast. I'm wide awake. But it's 3 in the morning, and I have to get up usually 5 or 6 in the morning. I need to sleep. I have a lot to do the next day. I can't be sleepy. And I don't like feeling tired like that. I just hate it. So I go into my bathroom, our bathroom. I go into the medicine cabinet. I get out the L-Theanine. I take 2 capsules with a splash of water. I'm asleep, sound sleep, like 10, 15 minutes later. And when I have to wake up 2 hours later, no drowsiness, no hangover effect. I'm just bright and bushy-tailed, not a problem. In fact, I feel better because I'm getting like a better level of sleep. So here's what L-Theanine does. It offsets the effects of excitotoxins in your food, too much caffeine, too much Red Bull, too much MSG. It offsets the effects of glutamate in your brain if it's too stimulating. It improves GABA activity so you feel calm. By the way, GABA is needed for learning and remembering, so it's a good thing. It increases alpha wave production. That's like a relaxed mental state, but you're not tired. It's a state of wakeful rest. Alpha waves are the relax and unwind waves. They're the stress buster waves. It increases the level of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is miracle growth for your brain, and the release of nerve growth factor. So it's very good for your brain. So it breaks up stress without making you feel drowsy. It helps you feel relaxed. It gets rid of feelings of anxiety. It can click your mood up a couple of levels according to a bunch of studies. It helps you with focus and your attention span. It restores your cognitive functions if they've been damaged by stress. It improves your quality of sleep at night, which is not paradoxical. You're using it in the daytime, but you sleep better at night because it's reducing the effects of stress hormones on your brain. It has GRAS certification, which means it's recognized as being safe by the Food and Drug Administration. It's not habit-forming. Let me just say an added benefit. About 6 months ago, research started to come out that when you eat food when you're stressed out, it's more fattening. I mean, talk about getting a kick in the pants. You're stressed out, you can't sleep at night, and you're eating and it's more fattening. So if you have a piece of apple pie when you're calm, that same piece of apple pie is more fattening when you're stressed out because stress hormones store fat on your body. That's why. But they also raise your blood sugar. So it probably has to do with reduce the effects of the stress hormones. So by reducing the stress, your food is less fattening. That can't be a bad thing. But there's one other thing too. Actually, there's 2 other things. When you're stressed out, it can make your blood pressure go up. So even if you're on antihypertensive drugs for your high blood pressure and it's controlling it normally, if you get stressed out, your blood pressure can zoom up. Theanine takes away that effect. So if you're on high blood pressure drugs that normally work, but your blood pressure is spiking and you realize you're stressed out, add the L-Theanine to your high blood pressure medication. It'll be absolutely safe. It'll take away that feeling of stress that's making your blood pressure zoom up once in a while. But also, stress suppresses your immune system, which is not good during the time of coronavirus. So by taking theanine and getting rid of those stress hormones and that feeling of stress, it liberates your immune system to function better to help protect you from viruses and other microbes. Okay, thanks for listening. Jerry Hickey, Invite Health.